What's up, everybody? I'm James Baney, and you are watching the Clone Wars Fan Show. Today we're going to be talking about Season 7, Episode 7, Dangerous Debt. As always, I'm getting ready to go into a little bit of a 15 or so minute little discussion on the episode. We're going to be talking about what we liked, what I didn't like, things like that. But first of all, I got to rate this thing, and we do it out of clones, so I got to give it a certain amount of clones out of 10, and I got to think, to be honest with you, that this one is practically the same vibe or whatever of last week's episode. So again, I'm going to go for a 7.3. I think I was lucky that I rated last week's kind of an obscure thing. It wasn't just like an 8 or something like that. I think the point of rating it again as 7.3 is just, I think anything that was interesting about last week's episode and this one as well is pulled back by the fact that it doesn't feel like we're getting anywhere. Long story short, and I'm going to talk spoiler here. Everywhere we're going in this episode results in nothing because we go right back to the same spot. And sometimes I'm okay with episodes like that because I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, a filler episode, it doesn't really get us where we're going in the long journey, but we kind of had something exciting. But this is a little bit of a different feel. I'm kind of bummed that the first scene is us in a jail cell or getting put in a jail cell, and we try to escape, but the escape ends up being nowhere. Now, that being said, we do get a lot of places with the character personalities and their backstories and things like that, so there's a lot to be said with that. So, and I liked a lot of those aspects. So we'll talk about it as we talk through the episode, but let's get into that now. 7.3 clones out of 10. Let's go forward. Obadiah, yeah. This planet has shown up a couple times, and I'm actually excited to go back to it. I think that this cool, the look of the planet is really neat. It reminds me of Blade Runner, Blade Runner 2049, maybe even more specifically, Tron in a lot of ways. Even Avatar, like if you've ever been to like the Avatar world at Disney World, there's like this bioluminescent feel, and it's very cool. I love the look of it. And I always love the idea that there's, granted this isn't particularly the case, but like every time we see it, we seem to think of it as this like prison planet or this place that's like impenetrable and it's owned by the Pikes, and it's pretty cool. I don't know. Plus, it's a lot better of a name than Obadiah. Inside here, as I was alluding to before, we get kind of the backstory of the sisters, and it's interesting because they reference a story that sounds very specific, and they mention Zero the Hutt, and I was like, okay, well the story itself is like, oh, the Jedi deflected a speeder and it crashed into a building. That could be like a million different episodes, but since they mentioned Zero, I thought, is this the Clone Wars movie, or is this one of the episodes of Clone Wars where we've seen it? Maybe it's kind of one of those things where you can look at it and be like, oh my gosh, that's like there's a story happening right now. Little did you know. But I went around and I started looking for where this might have taken place. I went scouring for, all the episodes featuring Zero for some sort of speeder chase on Coruscant. Couldn't find anything. That's not to be said that I just didn't miss it. So I thought this was a cool reference. Regardless, it is something that happened. The story here, leading to not liking the Jedi and why they don't like the Jedi. It's kind of one of those underlying stories that we always think about. Like, well, what happens? What do the people who live in the city of Metropolis think when Superman saves the day, but yet like completely demolishes like half the city or where they live or something like that? And I think that has obviously been explored in a couple different things, specifically Batman versus Superman. Like Batman was like, no, you can't just save the day and destroy all these people's lives and be treated as a hero. So I thought that was kind of a fun exploration. And I think that we'll grow. You know what I mean? I think that it inevitably turns into the Ahsoka that we recognize. So that's cool. I really like this backstory, and I think that it sunk in a lot with Ahsoka. So that's cool. I like the creepy little torture droid guy. I don't know why. He just, we've seen that type of droid before, and he just looked really creepy. And I don't know. I don't know. It was cool. There's not a whole lot to say about that. I just thought he was a neat droid, and how he was like creepy and was walking around and stuff. That's it. Now, that being said, I really like Trace tricking him and breaking out. This was actually a really cool fight scene, and we'll get to another fight scene that happens later that I really liked, that I thought was really cool. But Trace breaking out really shows her personality as far as like in a lot of ways she's more advanced than Rafa. So like even though Rafa like is all about the business or whatever, like Trace in some ways, I mean, we're still talking about the girl who's like, I'll fix it, dump the spice. Stupid move, obviously massively immature, but at the same time she's not like following orders here, and I guess you could say like she will do whatever she thinks is right, and in this case she doesn't want to get tortured, she doesn't want to go into the machine, she doesn't want to talk or give up any information about that could hurt her family or her friends, so she fights her way out, and she does like a really good job at it, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. I like that about the character. What I didn't like is, and it's not that important, but I don't mind when two characters are running and they run around a corner and they slam into each other. But this happened twice within like a minute. She runs into the Pike character and they fight for the gun, and then as soon as she gets away, they are like, okay, she's running down the hall, and then boom, she runs into, and it's like, come on, they didn't need to run into each other. It doesn't help the story at all. Running into the Pike does, because she drops the gun, and then she's reaching for it, she gets caught, and they get into a struggle fighting over the weapon. But in the other case, they just kind of run into each other, and then they're like, oh man, I was just looking for you, all right, let's go. Like, why couldn't they have just collected? I don't know. It was just noticeable enough where like almost like you half expect a third time to happen, because that second time happened, you're like, are they gonna run into another person around the hall? Oh, the leader of the Pikes, here we go. I don't know, it's kind of funny. While escaping though, there is a fun little like Wilhelm scream. I don't know that that's that often in the animated stuff, but it was fun to kind of slip it in there. I think they're probably just gonna say like, we'll do it once this season, just for funsies, just because it's like Star Wars-y or whatever. They're coming up on this door, or this pathway that's like moving like a door. I say door, but yeah, I'm thinking like an automatic door in Star Wars is like, and this is like a walkway that's opening up. But they're coming up on this door, and they make the jump, and then they get stuck, and then they have to make the jump and stuff. You know what? I think a lot of this flowed pretty well. Like, you got Rafa over immediately, and she's kind of leading them into danger. Then you have Trace, who's like, look, I don't care if it's dangerous or not, and I'm probably going to get hurt, but at the end of the day, I'm going to follow my sister. So she makes the jump. Granted, she tries to make she goes for it even though she's in danger. And that really summarizes their entire relationship. She makes the jump, and it takes Ahsoka to kind of fix or eradicate that situation, rectify that situation. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but solves it. And then she like does a tricky like high jump, and I think it is almost believable. It's almost believable that like if you were in this situation and you were jumping over a chasm, and then somebody's like, oh, I'm going to jump too. And you didn't see, but like they jump and they're behind you. You like believe like, oh my gosh, they fell. You would believe they fell, So I don't know. I kind of like this whole thing. No time to talk about it. No time to figure it out. We got to go. And so I was like, you know what? That whole scene worked really well to describe like their entire relationship and the believability of making a jump. It wasn't just like all three of them like, let's hold hands and jump off I don't know. You get what I'm saying. Now, this elevator scene is graphic. Like, I'm pretty confident. I remember back in the day there was, I'm trying to think what, is it? It's not Mission Impossible, but it's Speed maybe or something. I'm trying to remember. There's a movie where somebody gets like stuck halfway out of an elevator, and then like the elevator starts moving or it drops or something, and the person gets like stuck between the floor and the elevator, or cut in half or something. I can't remember. There's probably actually a couple movies that do that, but I'm sitting here watching this episode and I'm like, they're not seriously gonna go for that, are they? Like, I knew they wouldn't show blood or anything like that, but the mere fact that they build it up like a suspense or a horror movie where this Pike is like struggling for his gun and he gets caught up and he's reaching back behind him, and then the elevator starts moving up, and then they like show his face for a quick second, and then it's just like you hear the noise like slam, right? And you're like, oh my God, like he might, I mean, we didn't see like the top half of his body fall off, but it's probably like mangled and stuck in between, and he's definitely dead. Pretty horrific scene for the Clone Wars, to be honest with you. So the gang splits up after this, and Ahsoka goes into this tower, and she pops up into the tower, and then she starts fighting with these guard Pike characters. And I really liked the choreography here, and it really like made me think, man, you don't just like, you're not just like animating something and then you're like, okay, cool, I'm gonna drag her up and then she lands. Okay, I'm gonna set her down, and then okay, cool, I'll just punch in, fight, and then yep, there's the whole scene right there. Yep, done. It doesn't happen that way. Like, you have to really plan this stuff out, and it's one of the few times that really popped out to me. Like, I know they're thinking about this all throughout the episode, even when they're running around a corner and clashing into each other. How does this happen? But this particular choreography scene, I'm thinking like, somebody planned all this. Like, somebody is like sitting there like writing it out, talking with other people, being like, okay, it's gonna punch here, and then she's gonna grab, and then we're gonna move this way, and then the camera angle's gonna have to be like this. And it just, I don't know, for some reason it popped out to me. It highlighted how much work goes into planning out every episode. And oftentimes people like me are just sitting here on YouTube going like, well, that was dumb, that was dumb, that was dumb. But it's another point in the episode to me that really highlights how much work goes into every scene, and how much they think about the dialogue, and how much they think about the designs and where they're going to go and where the story's going and all that stuff like that. So I don't know, it just kind of really popped out to me in particular. Now, because a lot of things don't really happen in this episode, I think the highlight and the takeaway is going to be, and we saw this in the trailer, but it was, and I remember being at Celebration when you see them running, and then they bump into someone, and that person like turns around, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's Bo-Katan. Like, it's definitely that mask. And I think this is going to be like the big takeaway, showing these three like shadowy ninja looking Mandalorians, which I mean, I know a decent amount about Star Wars, but some of the real like detail work, like I try to get this episode as fast as I can, but some of the detail work gets lost on me. So I went to Wikipedia and I was looking up to see if you could tell who these people are. Obviously the design of the one, I think, is Bo-Katan, right? That we kind of know that one. We've talked about that before. But but when I went to Wikipedia and I looked up who was in this episode, I wanted to see if anybody identified that person, and it says that Ursa Wren is in this episode. So you gotta assume that's who that is. And if that name sounds familiar right off the top, that Ursa Wren is Sabine Ren'S mom. So Ursa Wren being around at this time with Bo-Katan, like, I don't know, there's I don't know, it starts popping off. You're like, okay, whoa, all right. So she's around here, that she's doing stuff on Coruscant. She says, Bo-Katan says, I think this is the girl that we met back here. That's another hint that it's her. But we could use her. She may or may not interrupt our plans. I don't know. All of a sudden, again, it's starting to get interesting, right? We're starting to lean into the Siege of Mandalore. Like, what is the plan with Mandalore? So that's another reason I'm thinking that, like, this arc is not just going to, like, end at 3 or 4 episodes. I think it's just going to keep going into the rest of the season. And I guess this... I was going to say it leads me into our predictions thing, but I got one more thing to say about this episode, and that is the sorry thing. When they got put back in that cell, they show Rafa's face, like, right there, and I'm like, dude, it was so funny. I'm thinking to myself, if you don't, like, apologize for getting them into this mess, this is the second time you're in jail now. I think it goes to the cinematography or something. Just something about the scene was like, this is the perfect time to have this character admit fault. And she was like, guys, I'm sorry. Like, and I was like, oh, exactly what I was thinking should happen right now. And I think that if we gain nothing from this episode, the fact that, you know, we started in a jail cell and we ended in a jail cell, the same jail cell probably, we gained a lot of moving forward with this character. It seems to me like even though they're probably not going to like when Ahsoka inevitably tells them or they find out that she's a Jedi, it kind of marks a turning point of Rafa's accepting of Ahsoka, like, oh, she's actually good at some things. Oh, she's helped out. She's here to help. She has the best intentions. And in this case, she's like willing to admit to not only her family, which you might accept, like maybe in private, she'd be able to tell her sister, I'm sorry, but now she has all this other pride with this other character. So she's going to potentially like open you know, herself up and be like, look, I'm sorry to both of you. Like, I got us into this mess. This is a problem. And I think that was really good. I liked ending the episode on that. But again, I just didn't like ending the episode back in the jail cell. Like, move forward. That's frustrating. Just get off the planet and be like, okay, that was the escape episode. But now it's like, I feel like the next episode is exactly the same process of, okay, well, now how are they going to get out of the jail cell, or who's going to rescue them and get them out of there? So it's kind of a loss. I feel like I'm in the same spot this week as I was last week. So it is what it is. So that's it. Clone Wars fan show, season 7, episode 7. Let's leave a comment, please. Let's subscribe if you haven't already. If you're finding our channel, Star Wars Newsnet, the website, because of the Clone Wars fan show, that's great news. Take a look at the other stuff we're doing. Pretty regularly, we're doing Resistance broadcast stuff, which is two times a week. We're doing hour-long episodes talking about news and discussion and other things, and we're having a lot of fun with the community and stuff. Again, like I said, I started this off. Leave a comment. I want to talk to you. Let's talk about the episode. Throw your rating in there. Compare it to the other episodes so far. Let me know how you think this season is shaping up. Let me know what you think about how the characters are shaping up. Give me all those thoughts, and we'll start a little dialogue. Talk to each other too. Like, comment on each other's things. Give the video a like. Do anything you can to help support Star Wars and the Clone Wars and everything we're doing. Just like here on the show, like trying to talk and discuss and make a living to some extent doing this stuff. So yeah, until we see episode 8 next week, I'm James Baney, and I'll see you guys later.